Hey, it's character building. Hello and welcome to It's Character Building,
a show where we pick a theme
and then we go off and build Pathfinder Second Edition characters based on that theme.
And then we come back and chat about them with an artist, who today is Luke.
And our guest for today is Jarrah. Today's theme is Nomads. I want you to picture, if you can, a beautiful rolling meadow, a hilltop, and beyond which stretches a majestic valley. There's birds flying around the sky. It's a perfect day. Sat on top of this hilltop, alone but not completely, is a small gnome. This is Maxie Melius. Now, Maxie has been traveling the world for the last 10 years, enraptured by the beauty of everything she sees. She is a painter, and so she travels around and paints and tries to capture the beauty of the world. A follower of Shellen, the god of creativity and artistry and artisans, she set out to hone her craft. But traveling can be a little bit tricky, and in her journeys, she actually made contact with an eidolon,
Cool.
or rather created an eidolon to be her friend, as Maxie is a summoner, and she has a construct eidolon. So Maxie is a gnome. She dresses in some rugged overalls. She's constantly splattered with paint. She has a bag of holding in which she stores a collapsible easel and all of her paints, and that's pretty much all she carries around with her. She carries a staff with her to help walking. Her eidolon, Betsy, is a small butterfly construct, like a humanoid butterfly. Sorry, Luke.
Yeah, thanks for that.
But if you know what a poppet is in Pathfinder, or maybe you can look that up later, they're actually a playable ancestry that just came out for Guns and Gears, which was just released.
Yeah, sick.
And they are basically usually crafted together from cloth and wood and twine. So like a tiny little friend, and she's constantly repainting Betsy to give her new looks and styles, and she is a small eidolon, as Maxie is also small. It's just like a friend, and they hang around. And the thing about construct eidolons, because they're born in the astral plane, they actually tend to have much of their own personality, rather than being a straight reflection of the summoner. They have more of a their own vibe. And Betsy is very outspoken and mouthy, but also they just while away the day painting and chatting. Yeah.
What gnome heritage did you take?
That's actually the interesting thing. I didn't take a gnome heritage because Maxie has a Gansey bloodline.
Oh, cool.
And
That's the astral.
That's the astral.
Very nice.
And for the same reason, she has Creative Prodigy as a first level ancestry feat, which is basically your connection to your Gansey bloodline. Ganseys, for anyone that doesn't know, is just someone born with a connection to the realm of chaos, the Maelstrom, and this usually means that they're very energetic and outspoken. I like to think of them as the Pathfinder version of someone with ADHD. And yeah, they have a strong tendency to be very creative, and that's what the Creative Prodigy ancestry feat reflects.
That's really cool, because I've only seen summoners that are pretty combat focused. I mean, summoners are a pretty new class in second edition. Yeah. So you're taking the creative, what kind of spells do you have?
So I actually love that you asked that. I wanted to move away, especially from this combat. This idea that every character needs to be amazing in combat, otherwise what's the point? Because I don't think that fits her story and where she's come from and what she the goal she has. She isn't an adventurer, she's an artist. She wants to just go amazing places and capture these amazing images and maybe make a little bit of money. So because she's a gnome, I took Days as a cantrip, and I love that because it does deal a bit of damage, but it mostly can, on a crit fail, can stun opponents and actually like stop them from being able to do quite as much. Shield, Infectious Enthusiasm, which is a lovely spell that basically gives you enchanted gusto to encourage yourself to get things done and share your motivation with others. So you get a +1 status bonus to your choice of attack rolls, will saves, or charisma-based checks. And you can share this with allies. So I think that's a really cool new motion-based spell that just came out in Secrets of Magic. Light and Protect Companion, which basically means you can extend a shield towards them. First level, I took Charm, Colour Spray, and Fleet Step, none of which are combat-focused. Fleet Step is useful because it gives you a speed increase, very handy when you're trekking around. And for the second level spell, I took Animated Assault because you can't have no combat. Since I took, it is called Magical Understudy, means that you can give your Eidolon spell slots of their own, cantrips that get heightened as you do. Cool. And so I took Dancing Lights and Days. So even Betsy's not very combat focused. She's obviously still an Eidolon, so she gets better attack and things, but Maxie is very squishy. She's got an AC of 15, and yeah, as far as offense, she just has a staff, which is only 1d4. It's actually 1d4 plus -1 because she has an 8 in strength and a 10 in dexterity.
Wow.
So about as non-combative as you could get.
Yeah.
So if you were to like level this character in a party, it would actually probably be more like assist and buffing for
support
other
character,
support characters.
Maybe in the same vein as bards often are, and take some... which I could have gone that sort of route, but I really like the summoner idea to give Betsy a friend, and that idea, like Nomad, because summoners are linked to their Eidolon. They're very much, it's like
You're never really alone.
Hanging out with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Does Betsy speak?
Yes, Betsy can speak and
yeah.
Talk and interact. They have their own personality and...
Is it like a...
What does Betsy sound like? When you think of a humanoid butterfly, what's
like?
the...
Is it a supernatural voice?
I do like that. The idea of her being a bit like a living doll, in that like her fixtures are like her face is fixed,
like painted on,
on, and she just like speaks. Yeah, but like Betsy can just glide around, and for that reason I took as my evolution feat glider form, which allows her to glide basically. And I believe at higher levels you can access fly speed for your Eidolon.
Did you end up taking a magical item?
Yeah, the Bag of Holding.
Speaking of gnome, because obviously gnomes are already super colorful, and then Gansies are super colorful on top of that. What colorway do we have?
I think
Maxie?
What are the colors
I actually
I have to use?
Super thought of what Maxie looks. I think it's hard to tell because she's so covered in paint all the time. I don't know, maybe she has fun hair that changes color. It's always nice. A lot of Gansies have birthmarks, coloured birthmarks.
Cool. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to Maxie?
No, I just really love this idea of the Nomad theme. Really struck to me of just creating someone that is travelling the world for a purpose, and I was like, well, why not?
I like that it's such a pleasant reason.
Very importantly, what is her painting style?
I think it would be not so realistic. She's
expressionist.
Wants to paint it. Yeah, so impressionist or expressionist. She wants to...
Maybe impasto.
Finger painting.
Jarrah, maybe we'll move on to your character.
Okay. Picture a sort of a vast grasslands, and maybe it's the dry season, so there's not a lot of grass to be seen. But
so it's just the lands.
Yes, it's just the lands. But there are two figures roaming these open lands, going from settlement to settlement in search of prey.
2 figures. You're only meant to build 1 character.
So
Says you.
my character, her name is Cassinia Ferris. She is a catfolk bounty hunter.
Ooh.
Cool. Bounty
and
Hunter's great.
She has a spiral-horned antelope as a sort of pack animal companion. My first thought was to choose a, sort of maybe a ranger character, but I think I chose instead to make her a fighter. To sort of enhance her bounty hunter's skills.
Yeah. And then you can still take like survival and you can get those skills.
Sort of roams the open plains looking for work, and her work is hunting prey. The heritage I chose for her is hunting catfolk. Cool. Which gives her the ability to track by scent. So she also has the hunter background. So she sort of grew up on the plains with her clan, sort of hunting and killing prey for food. And she decided to branch out into bounty hunting when she came of age. She decided to leave her pride.
Go for the big game.
Go for the big game. She doesn't usually take mundane bounties like thieves, or stuff like that. But not because she thinks it's like beneath her. She just she takes the big scores because they give her the most enrichment. Give her the most
They're the most
thrill.
fulfilling.
Because you've like left her pride, and I'm just imagining like a bunch of catfolk lounging around like a savannah, just like cleaning themselves.
She's very specifically a sort of a lion flavored catfolk.
Yeah,
cool.
And she has this.
I love that she has an antelope as an animal companion.
Yeah.
Fun. I love that.
She's also wearing a sort of cloak with a hood made out of the same animal. So when she raises her hood, she's got these spiral horns.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's pretty cool.
But she also has this sort of dense, deep maroon mane.
For hiding secrets, right?
Yeah, for hiding secrets. And sometimes it's mostly from the natural color of her fur, but a lot of the times it's dried blood.
It's blood. It's blood.
She also has long, sharp saber-tooth fangs. So that's one of the ancestry feats I took for her.
Saber-tooth.
So if you're a fighter, did you take...
This was going to be my question as well. How do you have an animal companion?
So mechanically, I just bought a pack animal.
Oh yeah, cool.
It's just sort of her way to carry her gear around, so she doesn't get
keep
tired.
Keep that dex score uninhibited.
I suppose at later levels as well, you could take the ride. I think it's just called ride. It's a general feat to be able to efficiently ride a creature, and it really just does apply to whatever you like. So,
I mean, you can also eventually,
cavalier archetype.
if you were leveling, you could take the archetype that lets you get a mount, or or the animal companion archetype that you can Beastmaster.
I mean,
and you could stat.
Beastmaster.
You could eventually level into having them function more like mechanically as an animal companion if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Battle deer.
But as for weapons, because she is a fighter.
That was my question actually, which was
her primary weapon is a composite longbow. So she likes taking out her prey at a distance when she can. But she also has a scythe that she uses if her prey gets a bit too close. And then, of course, if she's disarmed, she has her saber teeth to finish the job. I also gave her a sap for non-lethal situations and a pair of manacles. And I spec'd her out to be able to craft traps.
Snare crafter?
Yeah.
Did you take things like experience tracker and that sort of stuff? Did you put a bunch of stats into survival skills?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I think survival and stealth were sort of the top priorities, and yeah, with her scent tracking as well, that gives her I think a +2 to tracking.
Cool.
And one of her traps is also a scent marker trap. So she needs to, get a particularly odorless prey.
Particularly odorless prey.
This prey smells like nothing.
You'd be able to track that though. You just follow the line of nothing.
Yeah. But the magic item that I took for Ksenia is the vine arrow magical consumable. So when you shoot the vine arrow, it's sort of like it's sort of got like leafy stalks protruding from the shaft. But when it hits a target, the shaft splits and grows, wrapping the target in vines. And
Job done. Just like.
Yeah.
All done here.
For the non-lethal ranged takedowns. Okay.
What was the name again?
Ksenia. So I actually I took her name from an Australian native. It's a sort of a small flowering shrub that grows in sort of dense thickets, and so I thought for the vine arrow it would be more sort of less jungle vines and more sort of impenetrable thickets out in the open plains.
You've basically gone the opposite of my sort of build. It's as a fighter as well. I'm just thinking about like even at third. What's your AC?
My AC is 20.
20
at third level.
Yeah. So fighters are very. I forget what kind of armor she's wearing. I think it's just I think it's hide armor.
I'm sorry, I haven't drawn hide on armor on her just yet.
She makes all of her gear herself, probably except for she probably didn't make her scythe, but yeah.
You get attack of opportunity at first level as well, right?
Yes.
So that's like the combination of like a bunch of immobilizing tactics, a big chunky like 1d8, 1d10 weapon. War size 1d10, I think, but like, and then so you're like trapping them, and then walk right up to them. They try and swing it, or you just cleave them in two.
Look, I wouldn't want to meet you up in an open plain.
In any
so
sort of scenario,
she can definitely take pretty much anyone. I think I gave her like an 18 strength.
So she's jacked. She's like, I mean, have you seen lions though? They're like,
they're jacked. Lions are jacked. There's just
she's very much she's very much a lean experienced hunter, and she's very popular in the bounty hunter industry because she can pretty much get anything done.
Efficient.
But she only does the jobs she wants to do.
It's the heist movie thing of being like, I know someone, but it's got to be big.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sick.
Awesome. I love that.
And how are you going?
Content.
You got 4 characters to draw so far, Luke?
Yeah, I'm going pretty well. I've got your character Jarrah lounging ever so slightly on the ground to make room for everything else that's going on here.
She is a lounger. She's also a stalker. Yeah.
I mean, it would be that she could just spring into action so quickly.
Oh, immediately.
Mere seconds.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You're instantly dead.
Let's move on to you, Ebony.
Okay.
What have you built for us today?
Alrighty. sort of same but different, but very different. So I have built a lizard folk. So
Really throwing some oddballs
I know
my way.
we're just
Thank
making
you.
it really hard for
Lots
you
of
today.
characters, a cat folk and a lizard folk.
You're very welcome.
We know you're talented, Luke. That's
Don't
why we
forget
do
her
this.
mane.
Yep.
So it may not read due to my heavy Canadian accent, but my family is actually Indigenous Australian. And when we were looking at building nomadic characters, what mostly came to mind is that in like traditional Indigenous cultures, nomadic tribes and nomadic peoples was like a very large part of the way of life. So I wanted to build a character that was sort of inspired by, you know, Indigenous Australian culture and heritage and traditions. So I've actually built a frilled lizard folk because the frill neck lizard is an Australian animal.
I
So
dressed up as a frill neck lizard for my, I think it was year 4 book fair.
Nice.
amazing. I
It
really
was-
wish
You
we
got
could
the
have
big
a
frill?
photo
Yeah,
to just
it was-
put in.
I think my mum lost the
no.
photos.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Amazing. So yes, I've built a kupar, which is their name, and it means red earth in a traditional Indigenous language, because they are out in the desert, which is
The red?
the red center.
Like the red dirt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they are a frill neck lizard, which you know, I don't know. Look it up. They're very cool. If you haven't seen one before. And you get a bunch of interesting things. I think you get a mechanically for the frill neck lizard, you can use you get visual instead of auditory to demoralize.
For intimidate checks.
For intimidate checks, basically. And you get a bonus as well.
Yes, there is a giant frilled lizard that is in the bestiary.
Yeah.
It has a similar trait.
Yeah.
Can intimidate everyone right off the bat.
And Kapar is a bard. So I built a bard. Because traditionally in Indigenous cultures, storytelling and oral history is like a really big part of culture. And, you know, Dreamtime stories and all of that is, you know, literally our history. So I wanted that to kind of be the focus. So I gave them the Enigma Muse, which is basically your muse is a greater power. Basically, it's a pretty flexible muse. If you're like know that you want to do something that has like performance and stuff, it's a really good option because you can kind of skin it however you want.
Totally.
So, what's your Enigma Muse?
So I wanted it to be essentially Dreamtime stories and histories. There's a lot
The
of
history
different,
itself.
you know, flavors. So I imagine that potentially that Kapar is not a solo traveler, but is part of a larger nomadic tribe and functions as their
It's funny
storyteller.
because when you think nomad, your brain almost always goes hermit as well. Like loves to be solitary, but not true. Like
Yeah, there's heaps of nomadic cultures all over the world. So I wanted to like look at that aspect and you know, that traveling as a family group or as a tribal group and moving from place to place and the role that they play within that. So they are a bard. I did also give them a spear and shield, both traditional weapons, which is super cool. You know, they're dressed pretty simply. I wanted to keep it pretty traditional and cultural, so they would probably just have a simple like loincloth, probably like maybe kangaroo skin, something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like kangaroo
that means
skin.
you have to draw all the lizard skin though.
Yeah. Yeah, so kangaroo skin, and yeah, a spear, and you know, traditionally.
Wait, are you saying there's kangaroos in this?
They're Australian.
Why not?
Fantasy world.
It's in a fantasy
there's no-
Australia.
Let us know in the comments. Are kangaroos in the bestiary?
If it's fantasy,
It'd be so scary.
Oh,
Have you
they're
seen?
terrifying.
They're terrifying. I
yeah.
wouldn't want to fight a kangaroo. They'd be like a level 10.
also
Yeah, Google buff kangaroos.
more often than not, Australia in any kind of fantasy is like desolate war zone place or like the safe haven.
Yeah, so I actually like in my fantasy Australian desert, it is like this wide, flat, red center. And I mean, the desert of Australia is beautiful. It looks ethereal. Like you know, if you ever get to spend time out there, it's beautiful. So it's like these wide, flat, red plains, and you know, little shrubs, crazy like rock formations, you know, and you know, big, wide, open blue skies, and it's just these.
A lot of good things to paint.
A lot of good things to paint.
Wild Cassinia bush.
Yeah. So yep.
Nice.
Dreamtime stories, storytelling. I didn't actually take that many like sonic spells, which you know is kind of the bard go-to. Often, if you like, a lot of people.
The bards can do a lot.
They can do a lot of things.
Because they're a good class.
And I took a couple things. I took one which I really like is illusory creature. And I like the idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, of being able to like speak this like illusory animal into existence, because a lot of times in like corroboree and things like that, that is a large part of it. When we do like traditional indigenous dances, we are telling the stories of those creatures. We're doing the dance of the emu or the kangaroo and embodying those creatures. And so being able to do that in an illusory sense and have them be able to interact with the world is super cool. So I took spells like that. I also took spirit link and ventriloquism and like ghost sound and things like that, as well as bullhorn. A lot of people around the world know the idea of like a cooey to like contact, you know, people across a distance. That's also an indigenous Australian thing, is because of the way that it echoes. So using bullhorn as sort of this idea of like trying to contact the rest of your party or your tribe across like far long distances. Yeah, so I think they're once again not a super combative character, but they can hold their own, they can protect themselves. And we also have things like threatening approach. You know, there's a lot of like similar to, I guess most people would know, like Maori culture, you know, the idea of like the haka and stuff. A lot of indigenous cultures have similar things like that. So I have like threatening approach, which means that you can
tie in with your ancestry
feat, yeah. So it's like this idea of like the duality of like tribal culture, and that it is family and protection and that kind of thing, but also like you know, force.
If we were building first edition characters, you could have made a skald. Warrior poet, which would be
a barbarian.
A barbarian.
Yeah. And you know, and I also took Lore Master's Etude, which is a level 2 spell, I think. And it means you can call upon your muse's deep mysteries, granting the target great ability to think and recall information. So you get to double roll recall knowledge, because that's the whole thing. It's all oral history and stuff like that. So they'd be like the lore master of the party. And so it's a lot of stuff. And then of course like inspire courage and all of that. So they are, you know, a support character.
Right. What's your magic item?
Oh yeah, I took a rhythm bone, and basically what it does is when you activate it, it records any sound that is played. So it's like a permanent recording, and when it's recorded its thing, it keeps that recording. So because of the whole like oral history thing, I wanted to like have a way to like share an oral history, because you know we actually didn't get to do that.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
So
whose bone is it though?
I don't know. I suppose in the lore it says it's usually a jawbone. which is pretty cool. So maybe it's a really long lizard jawbone, and ancestors. I really wanted to like see which ways I could pull those like traditional cultures and make them feel fantasy. And the funny thing is that this character, at least in my brain, does not actually feel that fantasy. Like a lot of the things, like even their spells, are just things that storytellers could do for their tribes. It was just part of culture and stuff like that. So that's Kapar, my character, which was really fun to make, actually.
Yeah, awesome.
The idea of a nomadic campaign where everyone plays a family that travels around sounds really wholesome.
So
it would be super wholesome.
It'd be gorgeous.
It'd be like playing Trail to Oregon.
Oregon Trail. You have died of dysentery.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit more wholesome.
Hopefully no dysentery.
I should mention as well, Luke, you get two types of desert folk here in Australia. There's kind of two very distinct folks. You either get people that are short and stocky and are built like for keeping fat stores and staying long, or you have really long, lean, tall people. I'm obviously not one of those, but I like to think that he's very lanky, like just like the longest.
You're like, please don't say short and stocky.
Yeah, because I did go tall and lanky.
Yeah, is like just like this long, skinny, like his own spear, the classic on one leg with the spear looking out over the desert. That's how I picture it.
Amazing. Any final questions for us, Luke?
So you must have like a favorite part of each character when you were making them. What are they?
I can't overstate how much I love the Gansey heritage. It's the second character, the first being my character for the Ultimate Mage Spectacular was a Gansey sprite. I love the flavour of like a bloodline that doesn't denote anything specific about you except that you are, I guess, exceptional in your randomness. Like it seems to belie that like opposite effect to like destiny. It's like you're fully couldn't possibly have a destiny because whatever it is would be constantly shifting and changing and like these forces dictating your life. So I think I really like that, and especially in conjunction with a non-combative arty character, it would just have such beautiful roleplay potential, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't go like complete and utter chaos though, would you? Just setting fire to everything.
No, that's the thing.
Painting everything.
Yeah, a lot more of a creative way to sow chaos rather than like chaotic bash everything.
When I build characters, I always really love spell choice. I do not optimize. I am a very
do it fast.
I'm a very, very thematic. I build my characters very thematically often. So like choosing spells for this character was really fun. Choosing things like ventriloquism and what else did I had? And a couple of feats like consult the stars, like finding those like little nuggets of mechanics that feed into your roleplay and
really
feed in and really flesh out what it feels like feats like consult the stars and stuff like that help give action to the roleplay that you want to do. So I always like finding those little nuggets.
So what about you, Jarrah? What's your favorite part?
I think my favorite part is Ksenia's mane. It was once I had decided on catfolk, specifically the sort of lion flavor that Ksenia has. It was important to me that she had this big lush mane that. Maybe she stores some stuff in it, and it's definitely often got blood on it. But
her signature, right?
Yeah, her signature is sort of her point of uniqueness.
It's a missed opportunity to say pride.
A point of pride.
Word of pride. Well, thank you guys so much for coming along. It's been lovely having you.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you like this, tune in next time where we will be building level 4 haunted characters.
Ooh.
Spooky.
Yeah, if you like this episode, check out our previous ones and definitely our future ones.
And join us on our Discord, follow us on socials if you want to keep up to date with what we're doing, and check out our other content. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.